the Soviet bloc, Yugoslavia, and the West. As far as the Soviet bloc is concerned, I have not the slightest doubt that the most effective way of influencing the Hungarian, Romanian, and the Soviet peoples was the Voice of America, far above everything else, because everything else was restricted. And even though the Voice of America was jammed in the indigenous languages, it was not jammed in English. And if I may add an anecdote here too. In 1959, when I visited the Sokolniki Park exhibit, I was also instructed to call on the Foreign Office to protest the jamming. Now the Deputy Foreign Minister, I forget his name now, who received me was obviously prepared that I would object to their jamming the Russian programs. And when I walked into his office, I immediately realized that he was going to play a trick here, because he had on his desk a large Grundig radio receiver, a radio set. And when I started talking about, he said, "Well, Mr. Roberts, we don't jam the Voice of America." I said, "Well, of course you do." He said, "No." And he turns the radio on, and there was the Voice of America in English coming in loud and clear. I said, "Yeah, but that's in English, but you jam the Russian." He said, "Mr. Roberts, is Russian your language?" I said, "No, but we broadcast in Russian in order to converse with the Russian people." He said, "But that is an interference in our internal affairs." And so on, a typical conversation. But they did not jam the Voice of America in English. I believe that the Voice of America and Radio Liberty and Radio Free Europe made an enormous difference. And the Eastern European peoples and the Soviet Union peoples were ready for a change. And in my opinion, the enormous barrage from the West, VOA, Radio Liberty, BBC, Deutsche Welle, Radio France Internationale, the Vatican Radio, and so on, made an enormous difference.